multiply these two rational expressions. So the first is 2x minus 10 over 6x squared minus 3x and times 16x squared minus 8x over 8x minus 40. Now before we combine them, what I want to do is to factor each of these terms, each of these expressions if possible. So the numerator for the first one, 2x minus 10, you can factor out a 2, right? So let me actually rewrite it. So this becomes 2x minus 2 times 5, which is just 10. And then the denominator, there's a 3x in common, right? Because 6 can be written as 2 times 3. And then there's x squared, which is just x times x. And then minus 3x. And then for this term, the numerator of the second term, there's an 8x in common, because you can write this as 2 times 8 times x minus 8x. And then for the denominator, there's an 8 in common, since this is 8 times x and this is 8 times 5. Basically, I'm just trying to see the biggest number we can factor out, or the biggest, the largest value that we can factor out. So in the first term, there's a 2 in common, so we can factor it out. And what's left is x minus 5. In the denominator, there's a 3x here and a 3x here. So if we factor out a 3x, we're left with 2x on the first term, and then just a 1, 2x minus 1. And then for the numerator, what's there in common? Looks like an 8x, right? As we said before. So if we factor out an 8x, you have 2x minus 1 left over. And then finally, for this one, you have factoring out an 8, since there's 1 in common in both. What you're left with is x minus 5. So now we can actually perform the operation. And remember, multiplying two rational expressions is just like multiplying two fractions, where if you have a over b times c over d, the result is just the product of the numerators over the product of the denominators. So keeping that in mind, we can just multiply these all together. So this becomes 2 times 8x times x minus 5 times 2x minus 1. I'm just combining the numerators and writing them in an order that seems more organized. And then the denominator becomes 3x times 8 times x minus 5 times 2x minus 1. Now we take a look to see what we can reduce. So there's a 2x minus 1 in the numerator and the denominator. Those cancel out. There's an x minus 5 in the numerator and the denominator. There's an x in the numerator and the denominator. And finally, there's an 8. So we've reduced a lot, right? So what's left? 2 in the numerator and then 3 in the denominator. And since there's nothing more to do, then this simple fraction is the solution to this expression.